Jim Kultschizky, Rochester, New York. Family court corruption.
All right, when we had the power go out, or the batteries died, I'd ask you how long you'd met your wife. You met her 3.5 years. Give me those statistics.
Yeah, Julie and I met at a club. I was walking by. She hit me on top of the head. I turned around, and I looked up. She was up on the dance stage. So after that, her and I started talking. Shortly thereafter, we started dating, became engaged, and in 1993 we got married. I was 20 years old. So.
And you had a child when?
Yes, we had a child in 1997.
Only one child?
Just one, yeah.
So, a son?
A son, yeah, a young man.
And you said there were problems that developed at some point, and
yeah, I mean, the first year of marriage, things started happening. I gave them up to just being newlyweds. She slapped me, she did hit me. I still have a scar to this day when she hit me with an object. But you just look at marriage, and like I said, you give it up to, newlywed blues or whatever you want to call it. And as the marriage progressed, I think we were married like 17 years, something like that, together a long time. Towards the end, she opened up to me and she let me know that she was agoraphobic, bipolar, schizophrenic, and knowing the way marriage is, I took my vow seriously, for better, for worse, for richer, for poor, and in sickness and in health. Well, we were both out of work at the time. I had an injured back. We were kind of poor. Sickness and in health. I had a bad back, and there's no reason to leave somebody or to not deal with it. This is why you go on this quest or this journey of marriage. It's a life experience, and you deal with it the best you can, and you love the person all the more as you're going through this,
Is bipolar hereditary?
Her family would always make fun of other people in the family, like jokingly, like, oh, this cousin's bipolar, this cousin's schizophrenic. So, unfortunately, she did have a cousin who departed us when her and I were dating, who did, depart us on his terms, and he was a great person. From what little I knew of him, he was an incredible, smart young man.
It seems like being bipolar is probably something that someone should disclose prior to getting married. I appreciate your position on it, but
you hear things down the road. Her sister admitted to my mother that at one time she was institutionalized, and this is from my sister-in-law Brenda, who's the most stand-up lady out in the family. When you find out more about the family, I was young, naive, and I'm not going to judge her by judging how the family behaved. But the issues of being promiscuous were things that other members in the family dealt with. Okay, it was normal. It wasn't mocked. It was kind of like a stupid fun thing that they did. I'm not going to judge her by those standards, but my sister-in-law Brenda, she wouldn't say anything if she had a mouthful, but she was the only one in the family that had morals. And the gentleman that married her, God bless him.
How old was your wife when you married?
She was 4 years older than me, so she was like 23 or 20, about 20, 24. I was 20.
And what do you attribute her lying about what happened at the school? What's your view on that?
Her saving face. We had our problem in our marriages. I didn't realize, now we're talking, the divorce happened in 2007, this is 2012. So we're talking 5 years of this is what you find out from other people, this is what you find out from former employers of that she had, or from people that knew people that worked where she worked in these medical facilities, and how she behaved and how she treated people, and what she did in some of those companies was absolutely horrible. What do I attribute it to? The fact that if my son ever got to know me, he would judge his mother not on the basis of her being a mother, but on the basis of her being a person and how she behaved. You know? So, and the thing is, take me out of the picture and look at all the evidence that I acquired. I have audios of her threatening me, stating, "You keep this up, and I'll never see our son again." And the context of that conversation consisted of me asking her what happened to the $4,000 we had at the bank, because she was going around all over town for about 3 weeks, going to hotels, spending money on food. I'm assuming with this this guy Philip here, you know. And I asked her, I said, "I thought you were going on business trips. Where's the money that, you know, Neil Ziskin said that he was going to pay us back? Well, you keep this up and I'll make sure you never see Jimmy again." It had nothing to do with you keep it up and I'm going to keep Jimmy away from you because you were abusive. You keep it up, I'll keep Jimmy away from you because you have a foul mouth. No, it had to do that the lies that you had pertained to you going out, having an extramarital affair, had nothing to do with a business trip. So me pressuring her, and I wanted that for evidence. I wanted an answer, and I think I deserved an answer. You know, that's what I deserved, was an answer. And then that's when the threat came out.
I forgot to tell you, and you ended up saying everything I wanted to hear and more, but when I ask a question, my voice is not heard in the movie. So be sure and incorporate my question in your answer. So if I ask, "How's the weather?" instead of saying, "Oh, it's a little humid," say, "Oh, the weather's really nice, except it's a little humid." So try to incorporate in. Sometimes I'll stop you and say, "Okay, I'd like to get a soundbite that says this."
Okay.
And now I think I would like a soundbite, a short statement of just that prior to your divorce, your wife threatened you that you'd never see your son again, or whatever her words were. So put that into your own words.
Yeah, so prior, well, I mean, our divorce was happening, you know, our divorce already started, and prior to the divorce progressing, my wife did threaten me on the phone when we did have one of our conversations, when I was questioning her what happened to the money for, you know, to the $4,000, $3,800 to $4,000 that she went around and spent it on hotels and food in a matter of 3 weeks. She spent all this money in 3 weeks, which I was absolutely amazed. And she was employed at Leroy Manor, and her boss, or the owner of the property, was a Neil Ziskin, which she claimed that Neil Ziskin was going to actually reimburse us the money. So I said, "Where is this money that Neil Ziskin is going to give us?" She says, "You keep it up, and I'll make sure that you'll never see Jimmy again. Keep it up. Take it up with your blanking lawyer. Take it up with your blanking lawyer." And this is just one of the conversations that I have with her. The most abusive thing that she ever mentioned, and the only abusive thing that she mentioned, was that I was an albatross around her neck. That's why she was glad that I left, because I had 2 discs that were blown. I was waiting for surgery. And the reason why I waited 3 years for another surgery is because she called up a doctor in New York City, chewed out the secretary, the medical staff, and made me wait another 3 years. The doctor called up and said, "Don't ever talk to my staff this way again." And ironically enough, the 2 experimental discs that they had disappeared that were meant for me. He didn't want to deal with it. So I had to wait for another 3 years. So that was the worst of it all, is I was an albatross around her neck. I didn't work for 7 years. That's it. I was an albatross.
Did you threaten your wife ever? Were you abusive or threatening?
No, I didn't. The only time that I put my hands on her was when she would attack me, and I would restrain her like a police officer would restrain a belligerent person. That's all that I would do, and I have a right to do that, because if I'm getting bit on my neck, if I'm getting my hair pulled, if I'm getting slapped and you're coming at me and you're throwing things at me, and me running away doesn't help, I have a right to detain you and restrain you, like a medical person does, like an officer does, or a peace officer. Grant, we should at least be given that right to detain.
So, give me a soundbite that just says, "My wife physically assaulted me." Was it on a number of occasions?
Yeah, my wife physically assaulted me. It would happen a couple times a year. The last time that Julie assaulted me, and she kind of like did the whole set and frame, was in, I believe it was 2007, in March of 2007. And her and I were having a discussion pertaining to bills or whatever it was, and we were in the kitchen. And when we were in the kitchen, she grabbed an empty mug in the cabinet, And I grabbed the mug along with her to try and focus because she was acting very erratic. I said, look. As soon as I said, look, her hand went underneath, came up, and it hit me on the head. And I said, son of a gun. I said, who put the water in the mug? I thought there was water left over from the dishwasher in the mug. Well, I looked, and my whole hand was nothing but blood. Oh, what she hit me with was a 48 steel pronged beef tenderizer. It's a compressor. You know what I'm talking about? You see on the Food Network, has the 48 sharp stainless steel needles. And she looked at me directly and she said, I'm sorry. And I told her, I said, you get the hell away from me. I said, you're nothing but an animal. I said, the only reason why you're worried is because you know if I have to go to the hospital, you're a nurse and your license is going to get pulled. I told her, I said, go. So get the hell away from me. And I wasn't yelling, I wasn't screaming, but I had such a low bass in my voice that I never even heard before. I never heard that come out of me. It was very odd. It was hearing a voice coming out of you that you've never heard before. That was the moment that everything separated. It was about 4 months before she left and did everything else. And I slept out in the garage. She left, and I slept out in the garage. I took a mat, a fitness mat that we had, and I threw it out there, and I locked myself in the garage, and it was wintertime. I just slept there. Now, that incident, she claims that I attacked her vagina with a machete. So the blood is true, but it wasn't her blood. It was my blood. The attack was true, but it wasn't her being attacked. It was me. Okay? You figure it out.
Did you file a police report?
Look, why am I going to file a police report? I'm a guy. Okay? You go and file a police report to a state trooper right here on Lehigh Station Road. The first year we were married, she slapped the crap out of me and hit me in the face. I went to the police station right here, New York State Troopers. The guy looked at me like I was a jackass. You kid me? Oh, come on. So I sat there with our little pit bull puppy. First year we were married. You think police take you seriously? You're a joke. Give me a break. File a police. I'm sorry, I'm not mad at you, Mr. Windsor. Yeah, file a police report. You kid me? A guy does that. And, to sum it up, you're a punk. A man doesn't file a police report. Are you kidding me?
What's your occupation?
Currently, right now, I'm a parking enforcement officer, and that's all I'm going to say, if you don't mind.
That's right. So you work in enforcement?
Yes, yeah.
Did you do that before you were injured?
No, I actually worked in a warehouse. I worked in a frozen warehouse, and I did that for 8.5 years until I injured my back. So, and I dealt with that issue, and I had my back surgery, and that's what happened there. I had a little bit of, redressing back to what I stated about the $4,000 almost being missing. That was back pay that was missing due to me because they had me on partial disability, and then the back pay came up. So I had $18,000. In the bank. That's when she got happy and started going all over East Jesus. Apparently, her employment started picking up as soon as the money came in. It's just ironic, it just happens. So, yeah.
All right, so she physically abused you.
Yeah, she did physically abuse me.
Emotionally abuse you.
She emotionally abused me. You don't view it in that respect when you're in the situation. It's just life goes on, and you don't view the person that you married as you're the physical abuser, you're the emotional abuser. You don't view it like that. If you're going to go into a marriage like that, then why even get married? You thought you married a decent person.
So you took it as just part of marriage?
Go along, get along.
Even after she hit you in the head with a meat tenderizer?
No, that's when it was done. That was, I was like, yeah, the meat tenderizer, yeah, that kind of sealed it. You know what I mean? That should be used for cooking. It shouldn't be used on somebody's cranium. I'm very particular to that, by the way.
I teased my wife that claimed that she threw a knife at me once.
Yeah.
She says, I never threw a knife at you. She threw a wooden spoon.
You pushed her down the stairs once.
What?
You pushed her down the stairs.
Oh, yeah. She broke her ankle when I wasn't even in that state.
The issues of abuse that you also wanted me to comment on is I actually got in the habit of, she was a known phone chucker. She'd keep on chucking that phone at me. And I will tell you one thing. I tell you, ladies and gentlemen out there, if you have a spouse that does this, I don't know if Sears still offer it, but I actually bought an extended warranty program. So every time she would throw the phone, she used to get mad because I would pull like a Neo. I would like go back, and she'd like miss. So I would pull like a Matrix move. And that would actually make her even more mad because I said, look, you missed. And, around that time, you would buy one phone and you have two different handsets. Well, I would come back to the store and the guy's like, well, what happened to it? I said, look, I was changing the oil on my car and I said, lucky I didn't die. I said, the car came off the jack and it crushed your phone, But yeah, every like about 9 to 12 months, I would like get like the latest in technology for when it came to phones. So for $14, I always had like $100, $150 phone sets. It's well worth it. I highly recommend it and advise it. Get the extended warranty program. I'm serious.
I can tell you are. All right, so the meat tenderizer does you in.
Yes, sir.
And but did she precipitated the actual divorce, or did you?
Yeah. She told our son that when it came to starting the divorce process, the incident that started the process of divorce, I was out in the garage because by that time I was actually living out in the garage. Okay, pretty much. We had a deadbolt lock. I grabbed the deadbolt lock, undid it, and I actually put it on the outside. So if she came barging through, she couldn't because I would lock myself in the garage. I just didn't want to be bothered. I'm like tired of this. So it was early one morning. I would stay up playing video games. Mind you, I'm out of work, No intimate life, no social life, nothing. I mean, our marriage was dead. It was about as dead as the Dead Sea, okay? I'm talking on the headset, and she comes out there yelling and screaming. I have some friends on there, so I'm like, I don't want to be embarrassed. There was an empty bottle, the bottle was filled 3/4 of water. It was in a plastic bottle, and I kind of did one of these, and I threw it at her foot, okay? So the bottle had a little bit of water in it, and I threw it at her foot like, oh, be quiet, Well, at that note, that's it, I've had it up to here with you, I'm leaving, I'm going for divorce. She told our son that our house was being remodeled with the $18,000 that I received. So she left. After she left, she came home 3 times. Now, this is a woman that stated that she was absolutely terrified and she was scared and I was vicious and everything in court a year and a half later, a year later. She came back and she wanted to be intimate with me. Well, I was intimate with her one time. Well, one of the times. The second time, I pulled the 1950s Lucille Ball excuse. I have a headache, Ricky. I'm going to bed. You know what I mean? Because she really never came home. The third time that we were intimate, and I'm not being graphic or salacious, but I was wearing protection. She wanted me to remove that so I could impregnate her. Later on down the road, I found out when I was at the YMCA and guys were talking in the sauna, and the guy was talking about his divorce. He goes, I owe 23.5% because my wife has 2 kids. I said, oh, 17%, 23.5. I said, I'll be a son of a gun. She wanted me to get her pregnant so she could have another 18 years because after my son gets off the dime, then she's back to 17%. What a southern peach. How beautiful. I said, son of a gun. Wow. This is the woman I married. Lovely. And now this is the lady that has full custody. The lady, and I'm being kind, that has full custody of our son. Incredible moral fabric. Incredible integrity. Great ethics. If you sat near Lucifer himself, all that would fly. And Judge Bellini, Mary Beth Fent, James Hinman, Judge Morton all believed that and wound up giving full custody to her.
Do you think they believed it?
I think what happened was, it's just nice to have the allegations up there. See, because when you look on a piece of paper, you're going to judge a guy on what the notes of the judge are. By the notes alone, I'd be absolutely guilty. But if you listen to the video recordings, if you listen to the audio recordings, if you look at the court transcripts, how they don't flow, how they're absolutely inaccurate, you'd realize that there is an extreme miscarriage of justice. See, when you're in court, look, folks, when you're in court, you get a lawyer because basically you're legally saying that you're legally retarded to speak on your own behalf. That's why you get a lawyer, because they know the language of legalese. And they speak on you, or for you. So do they know? I don't think they care. I think what it is, it's a great revenue stream because statistically, a child that goes in a house with the less preferred parent has a 73% chance of becoming a delinquent. You know what that is? That's more revenue for the state down the road. And who do you think pays for the child law guardian, such as Mary Beth Fent? You guys do. That's right, taxpayers. You think a kid has a job and he's going to pay a lawyer $75-80 an hour, prorated, or $240 an hour? No, 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 no. There's a nice little stipend for this little individual, or this walking cash register. That's what I call it. Okay? So, did they know the simple fact that they had these egregious allegations to hang on? That's all we need. Let's do it on paper. He fits the bill. Okay? After I dealt with family court and Judge Morton, I actually had to go to an abusive course where we were told we had to admit guilt. I went through 6 months of that. We had to admit guilt. I admitted nothing. I spoke from a third-person point of view. And they didn't like me there. I said, I deal with facts. I said, what you're looking at, I said, there's over 200 pages of testimony, and the only thing the judge could come up with is about 18 things that came out of the plaintiff's mouth. 18. Either this judge doesn't know how to write or the pen ran out of ink, because he only took about 18 little things that were on her side, nothing on my side. You know, even though he had a video that they agreed to be played with the audio off, and you know, so the audio was off, so you couldn't hear me yelling and screaming, because I wasn't yelling and screaming. You know, the video clearly showed that I pulled up behind the car. I wasn't next to the car. The video clearly showed that she had her boyfriend there, Philip Haynes, and on the restraining order, it stated that it was her and Jimmy. And then you had Mary Beth Fent, and this is the icing on the cake, Mary Beth Fent, who has to be impartial. When she was questioning me, and I showed her the video in my basement, I said, Miss Fent, do you remember when I showed you the video in the basement? She goes, oh, did you really now? With a question mark. So that's court transcribed. 18 months later, when she removed herself from the case because of a video I posted on YouTube about her, in her sworn affidavit, she mentioned that Mr. Kultschizky showed me the video in the basement. Mary Beth Fent, right here. Same story, two different versions. You know what you are, ma'am? You're a documented liar. Legally only, just in my opinion. Okay? Same story, two different versions. How does that work? So, back to the questioning. I quickly stated, I said, do you remember when I showed you the video? Oh, did you really now? I said, yes, I did. No comment whatsoever. She really wasn't impartial. She actually agreed for the video. Now, this is out of the courtroom chambers, that the video should be played with the audio off. When she was at the house and I showed her the video, she really didn't even want to see it. She was uncomfortable. See, because once you put something in front of a lawyer, they actually have to be accountable for it. Well, most lawyers. You know, there's like some type of invisible ethical code there. Because as soon as they read it, they have to own it. They have to acknowledge it. So if you show it to them and they read it, it's in their legal mandate, what I call legal witchcraft. That's in essence what it is, you know?
She looks like a senator who's a comedian.
She looks like Dan Aykroyd.
She looks like a law guardian to me.
I mean, to me, she looks like Dan Aykroyd before Weight Watchers. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm trying to think. What's the guy's name?
Dan Aykroyd?
No, it's a different one. And if I come up with it, I think you'll look at the face and agree, but it doesn't matter. But she's a very
Thank you.
unattractive woman.
Thank you.
Yeah, she's
So,
she's a lawyer, huh?
yeah, yes, Miss Mary Beth Fent is a child law guardian. You know, Mary Beth Fent is part of the Russian American Rule of Law Consortium, which is an organization that started after the Iron Curtain fell down, and former Soviet legal scholars and attorneys and judges wanted to know more about the American law system. Okay? So they partnered up. They have sister cities in Russia, and they have sister cities here in America. She also traveled to Venezuela to speak on behalf of the rights of a child. Now, the rights of a child is a UN charter backed by Amnesty International. Basically, it usurps the American family, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and any declaration of what's left of this independence. Okay? Now, if anybody knows anything about communist Venezuela, it's the fact that Hugo Chavez actually pretty much got upset when somebody tweeted something negative about his government. One tweet, folks. One tweet. And they found that individual, tracked them down, and did whatever with him. So do you actually think that they're going to allow an American lawyer, espouse American democracy, speak to the cream of the crop in their academy, the honor roll students, and have a mock trial, a democratic mock trial, by the way, yeah, right, on behalf of the rights of a child, unless, maybe, just maybe, she's sympathetic to a socialist, communistic point of view. Now, you can call me crazy, but I could back it up every single step of the way. And now, mind you, Miss Mary Beth Fenton left after 231 views. Remember this face. And I would highly recommend go to Russian-American Rule of Law Consortium, because there's a list, there's a communist litany of the lawyers and the judges that participate in the United States of America. Go look it up. Go look it up. And this is on her bio. And if they took it down, which they haven't yet, I have it printed up.
Now, did she have two different versions of the video that you showed?
She saw the video. There was, you know, she was wondering if the video did have a different version. Mary Beth Fenton tried playing it up that I edited. Everything was from beginning to end. Okay? She saw the video. What made it interesting? That's what made it interesting. She stated, well, it's not time-stamped, meaning the video. Well, court isn't 100%. It's the preponderance of the evidence little game that they play. Julie stated that I honked the horn. Okay, well, I honked the horn. See, that's the devil in the detail, or the details are in the devil, or however you want to talk about it. You know, so that was in the video. But how could you hear it if the audio was off? You can't hear it because she agreed to it. She agreed to it. Gerald Beckerman agreed to it. My ex-wife's lawyer, and then my lawyer. I think he had kind of a hearing problem. He just, you know, probably didn't see anything pertaining to it. Any significance, and just let it be played. You know, but all the elements were there. It was a sunny day. Jimmy was there. Julie was there, except that she added in Philip in the sworn testimony versus the restraining order that stated it was only her and Jimmy. So, but she actually did try playing the video, downgrading the video, basically berating me. And now she's only supposed to be speaking on behalf of our son Jimmy. It is not her job to berate the video and or myself.
Well, why was she negative to you? What do you think, in your opinion?
When she came down, in my opinion, why she was negative to me, when she came down to my basement where I do my videos, God forbid, I think I did a big sin. I had good old Glory on the wall. That's right, Lady Liberty. And I had, you know, the flags that honor my heritage. I had the communist flag, which is my grandfather. My grandfather was actually the head vet for the Soviet cavalry, and he was murdered, you know, by a little guy named Stalin, you know, that peacenik. And I also had the Brazilian flag. I'm not a communist. That's just the time and era where my grandfather came from. And then I had Old Glory, a little bit taller. And she asked, well, what's this whole website thing that you do? I said, I speak to young Americans about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and about being good citizens, and about respecting your freedom. And right then and there, that's when I made an enemy. Because I found it funny, in 2007, around September, she goes, I apologize, Jim, but I kind of have to go to Russia for 2 weeks. And I said, wait a second. I said, why do you have to go to, who goes to Russia? I mean, it's like saying, I'm going to go to, you know, I don't know, I'm going to go to the killing fields in Vietnam or Cambodia. It's just not a trip you go to, you know? And that's when I started doing research on her, and I started finding some very unsettling things. Then her behavior in court made things a little bit more unsettling. In January of 2010, the most unsettling thing was after 2 or 3 attempts of talking or requesting to Judge Elma A. Bellini, and that's this young lady over here, we sent her multiple requests pertaining to Julie to release IRS forms that she filed. She stole my identity, robbed my identity, and falsified a federal document and also a state document. So we requested, my lawyer and myself, 2 or 3 times, and also on that same request was for her, Judge Bellini, to authorize a full release of Julie's mental hygiene records, okay? After the 2nd or 3rd time, she did it per review of the court before it could be admissible in a case. Julie's lawyer was a little bit upset. When it came to Mary Beth Fenton, she said, well, I'm not for or against it, but I think the mother's physically fine to tend to the child. Well, physically fine is a lot different than mentally fine, because you had a problem, Ms. Fenton, when I was in family court, and you agreed that I needed a mental intake, you know, mental hygiene intake. I did well. You know, I passed flying colors. You know, it took me a while because I had no insurance at the time. They wanted to at least Judge Morton, for him being a creep, in my opinion, at least he was tolerant and allowed me to get insured. That I do have to say. So it took about 8-9 months, okay? So that did happen. They said, look, you're a little bit upset, you're going through a divorce, but as far as that, you're fine. You're not delusional, you're not this. Yes, I told them about the videos that I did, the spoofy videos. They're like, the lady actually said, she goes, it's actually good that you redirected your energy in that fashion. I said, geez, I wish you'd come to court and tell them that.
All right, so how did this psych eval, is that what it was?
Yes, it was a psych evaluation intake. I went to it like 2 or 3 times.
And, was it required, and who required it?
Judge Morton required the psych evaluation, okay? Mary Beth Fent was for it, to the best of my knowledge, from what I remember. Obviously, you know, I would assume she would be for it because it would be in the best interest of the child. And then also during that same time, I had to go and take these spousal abuse courses, which you had to refer to the spouse by her name. Okay, you couldn't call her a she or, you know, I remember her. I mean, they were very structured. They wanted you to admit guilt. And I said, I'm not going to admit guilt. Well, we're not here to retry your case. And I said, I'm not here to admit that I'm guilty for something I didn't do. You know?
How did your wife's psych eval and spousal abuse courses go?
Well, now we're going to roll into the summer of 2010. My lawyer advised me on the side because now James Hinman was on the case. James Hinman, now our son's law guardian, stated that he was going to talk to me within 2 weeks. Never talked to me. We go to court, I think it was about June 2nd. She testified in court, okay? She went hobbling up there with her cane. Who's she? Oh, Julie. Julie went hobbling up to the stand with her cane. The cane wasn't even touching the ground, so she was working her left leg that she's used for the last 18 years, okay, like a wounded horse, all right? So she's being asked a whole bunch of these questions. Did you do this? Did you do that? When it came time to the hotels, like, oh, did you travel to 13 different hotels? I mean, here we have the printout. Mum's the word, she pleaded the 5th. Ah! She pleaded the 5th.
In a family court?
This is in matrimonial court. Okay. Yes, sir, with Judge Elma A. Bellini. The icing on the cake, and my lawyer thought I was nuts. Yeah. He asked me, he goes, oh no, my lawyer had his head down. Her lawyer had her head down, and Julie's up on the stand prior to the hearing, and she's sitting back. She looks at James Hinman. I thought I was like in Alice in Wonderland. She goes like this. The lawyer looked at her and went, being a guy, all I'm going to say is this. She gave him a wink like, and he went like, yeah, baby, I got it covered. He never spoke to me whatsoever. Why Mr. James Hinman? Now we're going to regress back here to the 30 days that I was supposed to not see Jimmy, and then visitations were going to start again, if you don't mind. I talked to Mr. Hinman, okay? I confronted him on the phone. I have the recording. I would love to supply it to you. He was not interested whatsoever in the welfare of Jimmy, his environment, in being with a woman who is bipolar, manic depressive, schizophrenic, and everything else. And for the dignity of the mother, until things got way out of hand, I never brought that up in court because I wanted this to be civil. Okay, I stood there and took a whipping. And then I said, you know what? This isn't about protecting her or defending her. This is about protecting my son. She's a grown woman. I don't care if you're crazy or what, but enough is enough. Because Jimmy is declining. He's deteriorating. I want to keep my word to my wife at the time and the ex-wife and honor her. But when it comes to the safety of our child, sometimes you just got to break something. You know what I mean? And at that point, that's when I said, look, this is what the problem is. You know, there was definitely an issue with her. And I felt like I betrayed her. I didn't like that because I like sticking to my word. When I make a promise, I like keeping it, you know? And I was caught between a rock and a hard place. And it was honoring my word or protecting our son. And James Hinman didn't care. He said, take it up with your lawyer. And I confronted him too. I said, by the way, I remember that little wink and that nod that you guys exchanged. Oh, I have no idea what you're talking about. I said, yeah, I bet you don't, whatever. Okay? Now, the ironic part is, this couple of weeks ago or a month and a half ago, James Hinman was supposed to be in court. He never showed up. I think it was June 8th or 9th. Where is it? Oh, yeah. 6/8/2012 was the date of the hearing. Well, he stated, or excuse me, Julie stated, and I have the recording right here. This is from, family court, Monroe County. Julie stated that James Hinman called her up Thursday and let her know that she needed to be in court. Now, number one, I don't know if it's appropriate that the law guardian, who is only representing the child, should actually call up a party that is representing themselves. I mean, she's a big girl. If I could remember my court day, I'd like to believe that she could too. So he called her up. They go to court. James Hinman never showed up. About an hour and a half. We were scheduled at 9:30, 9 o'clock. Yeah, it was 9 o'clock, something like that. As you can see here, court start time was 10:19 and at 10:23. So we were there for about an hour, hour and a half. Now, Julie and Philip left the court. Mike goes, no problem. I was a little bit upset. I'm like, Dave, this really stinks. This sucks. Well, I would, personally, my opinion is that James Hinman said, you know what, let's take him for another $250, $300 for the hour. Sucker him. I'm not representing you. You're representing yourself. Let Jim wait. So then my lawyer, and he's probably going to kill me if he finds this out, but he showed me the internal email from James Hinman to, I think her name is a Judge Julie Goodwin, and it said that I was mind you, now this is coming from James Hinman. You were not on my books, Judge Goodwin, or whatever her name is, and I was up with a Judge Stott, and the only thing I had on my books was him. You were not on my calendar. Now, the child's mother admitted that the phone call was made by James Hinman for her to be there, but he chose not to show up. Total disrespect for the court. Total disregard for the judicial process. He didn't care, and took me for whatever my lawyer wanted to charge me, which he's been decent. He's been fine. I've had a great lawyer. So that's a child law guardian issue.
You want to show Judge Morton?
Oh, yeah.
Tricky, isn't it?
I have a question, Jim.
Yes, sir.
Would you ever consider having an intimate relationship with Mary Beth?
I have found roadkill more attractive than that.
Would you date her now in the aftermath?
I would go on record and absolutely deny everything that I see here, right here.
He's hilarious.
She's a tough cookie.
What's that guy's name? Senator. He's the one who.
Al Franken?
Al Franken.
That's it. Yeah.
Al Franken with a dye job.
It's Al Franken. Look, is that Al Franken?
If I was to print up a picture of Dan Aykroyd, you would be like, right on the head.
This isn't on right now, is it? Oh, yeah. No, it's not. Sure, it's on. We think she looks like Al Franken, but we're not going to put this part in the movie.
I'll say it. I mean, the icing on the cake with this lady is Mary Beth Fent defended a woman that admitted to stabbing her spouse 18 times with a knife. Her significant other, her partner. So I don't know if it was a woman or a male woman or whatever.
Doesn't matter.
So she defended a Latasha Brown, right? She fought for Latasha Brown to have rights with her kids. Latasha Brown was convicted of second-degree manslaughter or murder. Served 18 months. Mary Beth Fent defended her to get her rights back. She wanted to make sure that Latasha Brown was rehabbed, that she could read, that she could write, and the fact that she came from an urban setting and she was a struggling mother with drug problems made it all the more important for her to get her child or her children back with a Latasha Brown. And this woman admitted to murder. And Mary Beth Fent defended her. Right here. Yes, once again, I know it's horrible, but it's true. So 18 months, you murder somebody, you get your kids back. I did no such thing. And once again, I've had less than 100 hours with our son Jimmy, and my ex-wife, and Philip, has had over 45,000 hours. So I'm trying to comprehend the logic behind this, okay? And the only thing that I could really come up with is the fact that I'm a political pest. I'm not going to shut up. And I'll tell you one thing right now. If you were to record me 1 second before I was dead, you'd probably think I either started the fight or I was in the middle of the fight, because I'm not going to quit until I'm buried. I am going to see my son. And these people, Judge Morton, Alma A. Bellini, the registered independent, conservative, Republican, you're none of which, because you're conservative on the truth, you have no independent thinking, and you're very liberal on lies. And Mary Beth Fent, by hook or by crook, I am going to expose your communist book. And it is going to happen. And that's why they decided not to like me, because I'm not going to be quiet. I stick with facts. You follow a pattern. Yes, sir?
I asked earlier, and you gave a lot of great information. Did your wife have to have a psych evaluation, and did she have to go to spousal abuse course?
No, Julie never had a psych evaluation. She was never told by the courts to ever have a psych evaluation. Back to the records that Judge Bellini authorized, they were per review of the court to be released for the divorce. I was in the office around May of 2010, late May, when my attorney grabbed a phone call from the Honorable Judge Bellini, and he said, and he looked at me, he's like, shut up, kid, give me a sign. He goes, well, you're honorable one, how are you? You're gracious one. Okay, pertaining to the records of Julie, so they are pertinent to the case, and they do have merit. He hung up the phone, thank you very much. He goes, Jim, everything you told me, it's true. Bipolar, up and down, left and right, everything else. So now we're in court, 2010, with James Hinman. That little episode that happened, the exchange of the looks between the two. We took a break. Julie pleaded the fifth when it came time to her going all over the hotels. Oh, yeah. And she was walking up Julie was walking up the stairs or the guideway, and the cane wasn't even touching. I mean, it was a horrible acting job. I mean, it was down. My lawyer told me, he goes, look, it doesn't matter how much evidence you have, Jim. It doesn't matter all the recordings you have. Because the law guardian has 100% say in the placement of the child. Now, if you really, so I conceded. And what I conceded was to the divorce. I don't care, I don't want you. Why would I want you? Really? I mean, I flat out told her. She was upset because I never fought for her. I said, fighting for you is like arguing over my neighbor about garbage that I threw out yesterday. I said, if he wants my garbage, take it. I mean, why? I mean, it's out on the curb for a reason. What am I going to get upset? You want my garbage? Take it, go. So she got upset. I don't know what you want from me. So on that note, I conceded to the divorce. Have it. But I didn't concede to the custody arrangements. Because I just had a gut feeling that something good was going to happen. And hopefully, God willing, this is why I'm here today. Speaking to Lawless America.
All right. Did it upset you, your attorney, that you're ordered for a psych eval, yet your wife, your almost ex-wife, isn't ordered to have one, and she's got a mental history that apparently these judges knew about?
It didn't upset my lawyer pertaining that I had to go get a psych evaluation. He goes, that's standard protocol. It didn't upset him that, he goes, what's the point of having her getting a psych evaluation done when we already have a history of the records that could be approved? Okay? So that was good on that note. When I told him, I said, look, I'm not guilty of any of these things. He goes, well, if you want to get unguilty, he goes, it'll cost you $4,000. I'm thinking, it's actually kind of funny how the court could guilt me pretty quick, but then to unguilt me, there's already like a price like on a pair of Florsheim shoes. You know what I mean?
I don't understand. What do you have to pay $4,000 for?
To try my innocence in family court. Because I was guilty of aggravated harassment, second-degree aggravated harassment and stuff like that. I was told to stay 1,500 feet away,
Right. Well, tell us about that. So they filed a restraining order or protective order?
Yes, they filed a restraining order, protective order, and everything is pretty much on here. I was told to stay 1,500 feet away, which I always made sure I did. I always carried a recording device with me, which that actually became an issue down the road. The fact that I was recording myself on the limited visitations I had with our son, that was an issue. Our son then came up to me, Dad, why are you recording me? Well, how did he know? You know, he didn't know that I was recording him. The reason why he knew I was recording him was because the Philip here, her boyfriend, now Julie was supposed to be dropping Jimmy off at all of these supervised visits with my parents at the mall. Well, Philip came up to me, and he's a little bit taller. He's like, I don't know, 5'10", 5'11", and he looked at me, and he pointed at my pocket, and he put his finger on my chest, and I slapped his hand away. I said, hey, man, I said, get your hand away from me. I said, who the hell do you think you are? Oh, nice recording device. Oh, you assaulted me. I said, assault you? I said, I don't think so. I said, I think you need to go, you know? Next thing I know, he looks at my son, and he yells at him, like, and Jimmy moves real quick. I said, hey, man, so you better watch your mouth on my son. You understand what I mean? And then they just took off. My hands are tied. I can't do anything, you know? And, you know, in some alternate world, things would have been better, you know?
Jim, do you have to have the accusatory instrument in one of those papers?
The restraining order?
No, the accusatory.
I have the restraining order here and what it reads. And, you know, menacing the third aggravated.
That's not what I'm looking for. I'm going to tell you this. 95% chance that you were wrongly charged, wrongly convicted. It's prima facie.
No, that's why we're here.
90%.
But no, Julie was never ordered to have a psych evaluation. I conceded to the case and the terms in the hopes that something would happen. The court didn't care. They were interested as far as me.
On what basis did they claim a restraining order and charges got brought against you?
The basis that they claimed that the charges were brought against me and the basis that they approved the restraining order on me, and I do apologize, and you're a little bit boring to read, but I'm going to surmise it if it's okay. The respondent, let me see, that I sacrificed animals. Oh, here we go. The petitioner states, meaning Julie, that she was absolutely terrified by the respondent's behavior. The petitioner believed that the respondent killed the raccoon as a means to threaten the petitioner and cause her to believe that the same could happen to her. The respondent is Brazilian, and it is common in Brazilian culture to threaten and intimidate another person by killing an animal and leaving it on the side of the road or on that person's property. The petitioner states that the respondent has killed other animals in the past and left them on her property in order to attempt to intimidate and frighten her. Now, let me ask you something. This is what Judge Morton got. This knucklehead over here, this bald-headed freak, okay? Has anybody here ever thought about going and acquire a raccoon? Aren't you told a way to stay away from these little vicious, rabidic animals? Rabidic is not as far as rabbi as rabies, so I don't want to get anti-Semitic here, okay? But these little rabies-infested creatures. The fact that I would actually go out there and capture a raccoon, she didn't say it looked like roadkill, but would you go get a raccoon, Mr. Windsor? How about would you people listening? Would you actually go out there and decide to scale a tree in the midst of the nights because there are, what is it, nocturnal? Yeah, you're going to nocturnally go and accost a raccoon. Now, this is the guy that believed it. This is your academic legal scholar.
Sounds like good use of my time.
What else? I killed animals. She claimed that I threatened that if she left me, that I would effing kill her. Go. Why do I want you?
Let me ask you a question. Did you ever kill any animals and put them in the yard or on the porch?
Listen, the only animal that I didn't kill, I had to flush down, it was a goldfish. I swear to God, I was guilty. I had to flush a goldfish down the toilet. That's it. I'm not playing around. I don't like flushing animals or doing it. It's not good. I never killed an animal, okay, but I had to flush a goldfish down the toilet when he passed away.
They look a lot like raccoons,
Listen, I cried at the movie Nemo, okay? I did. Don't get me going. I did. I cried at the movie Nemo. You want to know why I cried at the movie Nemo?
Yes.
What happened was my son was watching the movie Nemo with me, and, the father's looking for his son, and I got a little bit upset because I thought the father was a slouch. Personally, if I was the father, I would have asked the walrus to go up on land, go through the doctor's office, break the fish tank, and grab his son. He was relying too much on that pelican. That pelican was a deadbeat. You want a job done, you get a 2,000-pound walrus. So I'm serious. I was crying all over the place. My son knows. I can't watch The Lion King, the whole Simba, done. It was not good. It's not. I'll start crying. But anyways.
We've got about 7 more minutes. So I want to
Sure.
make sure we cover what's important to you. But the restraining order, is it totally bogus?
Yeah.
Any truth to it?
The only truth that we had on the restraining order is that I was at the school waiting for Jimmy. I did drive by the house because I wanted to see what was going on. Mind you, the reason why I was there was because the night before, our son's 11 years old, and there was a soiled diaper upstairs hidden behind the bathroom when he came over to visit. I'm like, what's going on? So this is like 3 months after my surgery, because I had my surgery in March of 2008, and this is like May of 2008. So the next day, I stayed up throughout the night, took my mom's car, drove by. I said, oh, all right, fine. There's a car here from Oregon. Apparently, I don't know how she met this guy from Oregon, but there's a car here from Oregon. Said, okay, took a picture of it, drove by, waited down. I said, well, you know, I don't care that she has a boyfriend, but hopefully she has enough good taste to let Jimmy stay with her mother. You know what I mean? I think it's a little bit too soon. It's not my business, but I'm like, well, the bus goes by, Jimmy didn't get on. Now red flags go up. I'm like, well, is he home or is he at the mother's house? I wind up taking off. I go to school because whatever time school was going to start, I don't know if it was 7:45 or 8:30, whatever it was. I want to be there before the buses started coming in, so at least I can make sure that Jimmy made it to school. I waited across school grounds. At that time, I saw the black Toyota Camry pull up, and that's when I saw that strange man driving, known as Philip, Julie, and Jimmy. So as far as in honking the horn, yeah, that was truthful. I hit it accidentally as I was like backing up. So the restraining order was partly true. The fact that, yes, I was there, okay? Was it my fault that I was there? Look, I was trying to pretend I was a detective. I figured, oh, I got her. You know, I'm proving that she's cheating. What do you know about the law? I'm new to this divorce. Anybody out there know about the law? This is what you see on TV, you know? My lawyer told me unless you catch them in bed, forget about it. But she even admitted that Philip stayed and slept in the same bed in Judge Morton's court. That was the best part. First, he started as a gentleman friend. You know, and May 8th is when Philip decided to stay because he realized as a good friend, you know, how aggressive my ex-husband was and how threatening and menacing I was. So she admitted, well, Philip, he decided to stay that night. Now, how could I have been threatening and menacing and he decided to stay the night before when I wasn't even there the night before? So she, I could understand the next day. So, and then as we had a lot of appointments here. I think it was like 14 different times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, about 15 times in family court. These were all the dates that we had. Okay? Then, you're asked, what were you doing there and everything else. Then Philip became more part of the story, Well, Ms. Kultschizky, what happened? Well, does Philip sleep in the same bed with you? And she goes, well, actually my lawyer was tasteful. He goes, well, Philip sleeps there then, right? Well, yes. Well, does he sleep in the family room or on the couch? Well, of course not. He sleeps in the bed with me. And he goes, and you're just friends. Well, yeah. Okay, Judge Morton believed that one. And Judge Morton also believed that I'm going to go out there and apparently I'm the rabid raccoon catcher of Rochester, New York.
Did Judge Morton, do you believe he believed it, or was this a setup?
Whether or not Judge Morton, I don't know if Judge Morton believed it. What I think happens is this, like I stated before. A claim is made in court, and they have their hat to hang on it. It doesn't matter if they believe it, just as long as it's said. Because if nothing happened, let's just hypothetically say we went through a divorce. What ground